Welcome back to Blind Truth. Get ready to be amazed because today we're diving into the world of elephants. From majestic tuskers to incredible herds, you won't believe just how big these gentle giants can be. Let's get started. Number 20. World's biggest elephant in Tanzania. If you've ever wondered where the biggest elephant in the world might be, your search can now take a break. Someone thinks they found it. It's not like the official Guinness World Records, but it's still exciting. A huge elephant was spotted in Tanzania, estimated to weigh about 17,635 pounds, which is around 8,000 kilograms. Before this, the heaviest elephant on record was from Angola, weighing around 11,000 kilograms, which is 24,251 pounds. Number 19. African bush elephant. The big elephant in Africa is sometimes called the savanna elephant. It's not the same as the forest elephant. People used to think there was only one kind of African elephant, but there are actually two types, the forest and the savanna. The savanna elephant is the biggest land animal. It's much larger than the forest elephant. Savanna elephants have thicker tusks that curve more, and their ears are shaped like triangles. It's hard to tell the difference unless you see them together. Savanna elephants grow to about 13 feet tall and can weigh between 2.5 to 7 tons. They're really strong animals, and not much can challenge them. Even lions can't take them down easily. But their real strength is in their brains. They protect their herd and use their experience to stay safe. Sadly, African elephants are in danger. They're called critically endangered, which means they might disappear if things don't change. They're super important for the ecosystem because they spread seeds and make watering holes that other animals need. So, African elephants are doing important work, but they need our help to survive. Number 18. Jumbo. Jumbo was a very famous elephant. He was probably the first elephant to become really famous. Jumbo lived during the late 1800s. He lived in the London Zoo, which was a big deal back then. But in 1882, a man named P.T. Barnum bought Jumbo from the London Zoo. P.T. Barnum was a famous American circus owner. When Jumbo came to New York, a huge crowd of 10,000 people came to see him. He was a massive elephant, over 11 feet tall and weighing 6 tons. He was the biggest elephant people had ever seen in a zoo. People loved Jumbo. He was gentle, smart, and had a special bond with his keeper. Jumbo's name became famous too. Even though Jumbo didn't originally mean something big, now it does. It's because Jumbo was so huge that people started using his name to mean something very big. Sadly, Jumbo's life ended tragically. In 1885, he got hit by a train in Ontario, Canada. People all around the world were sad about his death. Number 17. The Colombian Mammoth. The Colombian Mammoth was a big animal that lived a long time ago in North America, around 1.5 million to 10,000 years ago. It was one of the largest and most famous types of mammoths, similar to the woolly mammoth. Colombian mammoths were huge, about 14 feet tall and weighing up to 10 tons. They had long curved tusks that could be as long as 16 feet, and their shaggy brown hair helped keep them warm in the cold places they lived. These mammoths ate plants like grass and lived in different kinds of environments, from grasslands to forests. People have found the bones of Colombian mammoths in places like the Las Vegas Formation at Chul Springs Fossil Bed National Monument. The first one was discovered there in 1903. About 22% of the fossilized remains found there are from Colombian mammoths. Scientists think these mammoths, like many big animals from that time, died out because the climate changed and people hunted them. Number 16. Dinotherium. Dinotherium was a big ancient animal that lived a long time ago, from around 23 to 5 million years ago. They were like elephants but had some differences. Scientists used to think they might be related to tapirs or sea cows because they were so different. One big difference was their tusks, which curved downward from their lower jaw, unlike modern elephants whose tusks grow upward and outward. They used these tusks to pull leaves, bark, and other plants from trees. Deinotherium was huge, some as tall as 13 feet at the shoulder. Fossils of these animals have been found in Africa, Eurasia, and parts of North America, suggesting they lived in many different places. They probably lived in different habitats, like grasslands and forests. It's not clear why they went extinct, but things like changes in the climate and the plants they ate likely played a big part. Number 15. Black diamond. In 1929, a circus visited Coracana, Texas, a town that was thriving because of oil. The circus was a big deal back then because there weren't as many other forms of entertainment like we have today. Lots of people came to see it. One special thing about this circus was a group of elephants. They walked through the town and people loved watching them. There was one elephant called Black Diamond who was especially big. His tusks were cut down, and he wore an iron bar to control them. He also had chains and shackles on him because the circus people knew he could be dangerous. He had already hurt 3 people before, but they didn't talk about it much. One day, Black Diamond broke free from his handlers. He knocked down a woman, hurt her badly, and caused chaos. People blamed the elephant for what happened. But we forget that elephants, despite being peaceful, can become very dangerous if they feel threatened or if males are in a competitive mood. The town was angry and decided to kill Black Diamond. They shot him many times until he died. It was a terrible thing to do. Number 14. The Asian elephant. The Asian elephant is a very important animal in Asia and around the world. In many Asian cultures, people really admire elephants. They think elephants are wise, strong, and sometimes even divine. Elephants have been part of religious ceremonies, cultural festivals, and they've worked alongside people for a long time. Asian elephants are big and grey, with long trunks and sometimes small, round ears. The male elephants are usually bigger and heavier than the females. They're also very social animals. They live in close-knit families led by a female leader called a matriarch. These elephants are very clever too. They have the biggest brains of any land animal and they weigh about 11 pounds. Asian elephants only eat plants like grass, leaves, fruits, and bark. Because they're so big and strong, they help shape and take care of their homes in forests and grasslands. But sadly, Asian elephants are in danger because of humans. People are destroying their homes by cutting down forests and building things. Some people even hunt elephants for their tusks and other body parts. And sometimes, elephants and people have conflicts over things like food and space. Number 13. Sri Lankan Elephant. The Sri Lankan elephant is a type of elephant found in Sri Lanka, an island near India. They are the biggest and darkest of all Asian elephants. Males have long tusks, while females have shorter ones, or none at all. Throughout history, these elephants have been important in Sri Lankan culture and religion, used in ceremonies and parades, and as symbols of the country. But their numbers are going down because of things like losing their homes, conflicts with people, and being hunted for their tusks. People are trying to help them by protecting their habitats in national parks and other areas. These elephants are really important for the environment. They help plants grow by spreading seeds, and they make watering holes by digging. If they disappear, it will hurt everything else that lives in their habitat too. Number 12. Straight-tusked elephants. Straight-tusked elephants. These are big elephants that don't exist anymore. Actually, there were many types of them that lived long ago. People think they were the biggest land animals ever. We found lots of their bones, but we're not sure how many different kinds of them there were. These elephants used to live in Africa, Europe, and Asia over the past million years. They lived from about 22 million to 11,700 years ago. They were huge, sometimes as tall as 15 feet and as heavy as 14 tons, which is twice as heavy as an African elephant. Humans met these elephants near the end of their time. We know this because there's evidence that humans ate them about 21,000 years ago. Number 11. Satel. Satel was a famous elephant in Kenya. He was big and had very long tusks that almost touched the ground. But sadly, poachers killed him in 2014. He lived in a big park called East National Park, which had many elephants. Satel was probably born in the late 1960s and was at least 45 years old when he died. His tusks were huge, which made him special, but also made him a target for poachers. They sell elephant tusks for a lot of money in Asia, even though it's illegal. Poachers shot Satel with a poisoned arrow to steal his tusks. Park rangers tried to protect him, but they couldn't stop the poachers. They caught the poachers later on. Number 10. Temple Elephant Raman. In India, many temples have elephants. People think elephants are special animals from God. They believe elephants can give blessings to people who visit the temples. Elephants are also part of ceremonies and festivals, but some people argue about keeping elephants in captivity. In India, elephants are often used in festivals. There's a particular elephant in a temple. Its name is too hard to say, so people call it Raman. It also has another long name that means the only emperor, but let's stick with Raman. Raman is said to be the tallest captive elephant alive, standing at 10.5 feet tall. But he's partially blind. The temple says they treat him well, but there's still debate about how elephants like Raman are treated. Sometimes, Raman is not allowed to be shown because of this controversy. Number 9. The woolly mammoth. People have tried to convince others that woolly mammoths still exist, but the videos they show look blurry and strange. However, scientists are actually getting closer to bringing back these huge creatures. They're working on ways to recreate them, kind of like in Jurassic Park. Some people are really excited about this idea. Scientists have learned a lot about genes and genetic sequencing, which makes bringing back extinct species more possible than before. The woolly mammoth is at the top of the list for creatures to bring back because its genes are similar to those of modern-day Asian elephants. Also, scientists have found well-preserved mammoth remains, so there's a good chance we might see woolly mammoths again one day. Imagine opening your curtains and seeing one walk by. Number 8. The steppe mountain. Let's talk about another big ancient animal called the steppe mammoth. These creatures lived on Earth a long time ago, between about 600,000 to 37,000 years ago. Steppe mammoths were huge, some as tall as 16 feet. They had long, curved tusks that could be many feet long. These tusks were used for different things like finding food and water, protecting themselves from other animals, and maybe even impressing mates during mating times. One cool thing about these mammoths was that they could survive in really cold places, like the big grasslands of Eurasia. Their shaggy fur helped them stay warm during icy times. Scientists think that these steppe mammoths are related to the more famous woolly mammoths, which lived in even colder areas and had really thick fur coats. We're not totally sure why steppe mammoths disappeared, but it was probably because of things like climate change and changes in the plants they ate. It's sad to think about, but these big ancient animals are no longer around. Number 7. Paleoxidon namadicus. This big elephant is sometimes called the Indian elephant or the Asian straight-tusked elephant. It lived a long time ago in India. This huge animal was one of the biggest land animals ever. It's bigger than today's African elephants and even bigger than mammoths. It stood about 13 to 16 feet tall and weighed around 20 to 24 tons. It had long, straight tusks that could grow up to 11.5 feet. It ate plants. These elephants lived a long time ago during the Pliocene epoch. We know this because we found their fossils in India and Pakistan. Like many big animals from that time, they died out. This might have been because of changes in the weather and because people started hunting them too much and destroying their homes. It's strange how that's happening to animals today too, isn't it? Number 6. Proboscidea. We have a cool new word in Latin, proboscidea. It's a general word that means all the animals related to elephants. It's interesting stuff. The word comes from the Latin word prascus, which means trunk, like an elephant's trunk. This category includes all the elephants you know and some of their extinct relatives from different times. They are some of the heaviest mammals ever and might have weighed more than double some dinosaurs like Diplodocus. It's pretty amazing. Number 5. Mastadon. Mastodons were really cool animals that lived a long time ago. They were like big elephants with long trunks. They lived in North and Central America many years ago, around 10,000 to 30,000 years ago. Mastodons were a bit smaller than elephants today. They were about 8 to 10 feet tall. They had strong bodies and long, curved tusks that could be up to 13 feet long. Their teeth were special, shaped like cones, which helped them eat plants. But as the climate changed, the plants they ate disappeared, and they couldn't find enough food. This is a problem for many animals when the climate changes a lot. It's like if you could only eat certain foods, but suddenly they weren't available anymore. That would be really tough, unless you were a cockroach, because they can eat almost anything. Being a human with food restrictions during big changes would be hard. Number 4. Loxodonta Aurora. Another type of elephant that doesn't exist anymore. It looks a lot like other elephants you know. We found its fossils in many places in Africa. It seems like these elephants only lived in Africa. People used to think they were like the elephants we see today. But now, we think they might have come from a different kind of elephant, maybe even a mammoth. Understanding where elephants come from is tricky. Number 3. Sumatran Elephant. The Sumatran elephant is a type of elephant that's in big trouble. It's a special kind of elephant that lives only on the island of Sumatra in Indonesia. These elephants are much smaller than other types of Asian elephants. They're usually about 6.6 to 9.8 feet tall and weigh between 4,000 to 8,800 pounds. That might sound big, but compared to their elephant cousins, they're quite small. Sumatran elephants look a bit different too. They have smaller, rounder ears and their skin is thick and wrinkly with patches all over. These features help them live in the dense forests of Sumatra. They mostly eat plants like fruits, leaves, and grasses that grow in these forests. But here's the sad part. The Sumatran elephants are in danger. Their homes are being destroyed because people are cutting down forests for things like farming and cutting trees for wood. This destroys the places where the elephants live and eat. Also, there aren't many Sumatran elephants left, so it's hard for them to find mates and have babies. Some are even killed by poachers who want their tusks and other body parts. If we don't do something to protect the forests and the elephants, they might disappear forever. Number 2. Mammuthus meridionalis. This old kind of elephant, which I probably said wrong, is mostly called the southern mammoth. It lived from about 22 million to 700,000 years ago. This creature belonged to the same group as the famous woolly mammoth and the Colombian mammoth. Yes, there were many types of mammoths. Southern mammoths were pretty big. The males could be up to 13 feet tall and weigh around 10 to 12 tons. They had long curved tusks that could grow to be over a foot long. They also had shaggy coats and long rough hair that helped them survive in different climates. These mammoths lived in various environments like grasslands and forests. They only ate plants like grasses and shrubs. Yum! They went extinct because the temperature changed and they couldn't find enough food. Number 1. Garuda Kesavan. Now let's talk about another elephant in a temple. This one had a really famous name, but I might not say it right. It was one of the most famous elephants ever, but sadly, it's not alive anymore. It was given to the temple by the royal family of India in 1922 and lived there until it died in 1976. This elephant was said to be the tallest ever in the temple. Some people argue about who was the tallest, but this one was pretty big, measuring 10 3/4 feet tall. It died on a very important religious day, and even now, elephants in the temple mourn its death. They line up to pay their respects. That's all for today about elephants. Tell me what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to check out other interesting things on the screen. See you next time.